I thought she was just my nurse. Until the alien revealed humanity's dark fate. Commander Elias woke slowly, as if his body fought against the idea of waking at all. His head was heavy, and his chest burned with each shallow breath. The sterile smell of medicine and metal told him that he was inside a medical bay. He blinked, trying to clear his vision, and saw a figure leaning over him. A nurse, he thought. Her face was calm, her hands gentle, yet something about her unsettled him. She did not look at him the way ordinary nurses did. Most caretakers spoke softly, offered words of comfort, or at least a smile. This one only studied him with sharp, unblinking eyes. They were not like any eyes he had ever seen. The color was strange, shifting between silver and green depending on the angle of the light. It was almost as if they reflected things he could not see. Elias stared too long and felt a shiver run down his spine. She adjusted the tube connected to his arm, then touched a device that hummed softly. Elias noticed her hands move too quickly with a precision that felt unnatural. Every action was done without hesitation, as if she had rehearsed his care 1,000 times before. He tried to speak, but his throat was dry. A rasp came out instead of words. The nurse leaned closer, her voice smooth and low. "You must rest, Commander. You lost much blood." Her tone was soft, but there was no warmth in it. It felt less like comfort and more like observation, as though she was reading his body instead of caring for him. Elias swallowed and forced out a question. "Where am I?" "Safe," she answered quickly. Then after a pause she added, "For now?" The pause made him uneasy. Safe for now? What did that mean? He wanted to ask more, but his eyelids grew heavy again. As he drifted back into half-sleep, he felt her gaze remain on him. She was not checking the monitors. She was studying him, as if his very existence was some kind of puzzle she needed to solve. When Elias woke again, the room was dim. The nurse was still there, sitting silently by his bed. She had not moved. He frowned, wondering how long she had been watching him. Most nurses rotated shifts, yet she remained fixed at his side. Trying to shake the unease, he asked her name. She hesitated for a second too long. "Lyra," she said at last. The word felt strange in his ears, foreign, as though it was chosen rather than truly hers. "Lyra," he repeated, testing it. "How long have I been here?" 3 days, she replied. "You were close to death, but I did not let you die." Something in the way she said it made him shiver. He studied her again. She was too still, too perfect. Her skin held no blemish, no scar, no trace of fatigue. The way she sat, straight-backed and motionless, reminded him more of a machine than a woman. Yet her eyes, those eyes seemed alive in a way that unsettled him even more. Elias turned his head, pretending to rest, but he watched her from the corner of his eye. When she thought he was asleep, her expression changed. The cold mask slipped for only a moment, replaced by something almost mournful. Her lips moved as if whispering words he could not hear. Then, noticing his breathing shift, she returned instantly to the silent watcher. Later that night, Elias awoke to find her standing near the window. The stars outside painted her face in pale light. She was not looking at the stars, though. She was staring at her own reflection, her hand pressed against the glass, her silver-green eyes shining strangely. He pushed himself up, wincing at the pain in his chest. "What are you?" he whispered before he could stop himself. Lyra turned quickly, her face unreadable. For a long time she said nothing, and the silence filled the room like a weight. Finally, she stepped closer and leaned near his ear. Her voice was softer than ever, but it carried a weight that froze him. "I am your nurse," she said slowly. Then after a pause she added, "But I am also more than that. Much more." Elias's heart pounded in his chest. He stared at her, but she gave him no further explanation. Instead, she touched the monitor beside his bed, checking his pulse as if nothing strange had been said. But Elias could not forget her words. As the hours passed, he felt more awake, though the unease never left him. Each time he tried to ask questions, she dodged them. When he demanded to know what she meant by more, she only looked at him with those shifting eyes and whispered, "You are not ready to know yet." Her words stirred something cold inside him. Not ready to know? What secret could a simple nurse possibly be hiding? And why did she speak as though his life was tied to something larger, something beyond this room? That night, as Elias tried to rest, he felt her presence beside him, constant and watchful. She did not hum to herself, did not sigh or move in small human ways. She simply sat there, silent and waiting. His mind replayed her words again and again, each time filling him with new dread. Just before sleep claimed him, he heard her whisper once more, so soft he almost thought he dreamed it. "Elias, you must survive. Humanity is not ready, but the time is near." His eyes snapped open, but she was already silent again, sitting perfectly still. Elias lay frozen, heart racing, the words echoing in his mind. He no longer believed she was only a nurse. Something about her was far greater and far more terrifying. And in that quiet medical bay, Elias realized that his recovery was not the beginning of peace, but the first step into a secret that could decide the fate of all humankind. Elias woke with a start. His body was weak, but his mind was restless. The words she whispered the night before would not leave him. He had been through battles, ambushes, and bloodshed, but nothing unsettled him like this nurse, with eyes that seemed too old, too knowing. She had said things no caretaker should ever say, and now he could not rest until he found the truth. Lyra was already there, as always. She sat by his bedside, calm and motionless, as though she had not moved all night. When their eyes met, she tilted her head slightly like a bird watching prey. "You are stronger today," she said, voice smooth, even cold. "Your body is repairing faster than expected." "Expected?" Elias forced a laugh that sounded more bitter than amused. "How could you know what is expected of me? You barely know me." Her silver-green eyes did not blink. "I know more about you than you think, Commander." That answer cut through him like a blade. He sat up slowly, ignoring the pain in his chest. "Who are you really?" "I told you," she said simply. "I am your nurse." "No," Elias snapped. His voice was harsher than he meant it to be, but fear gave him strength. "I have seen plenty of nurses in my time, and none of them behave like you. You never sleep. You never leave. You look at me as if I am not a patient, but a test subject. And your eyes—" He stopped, but the words hung heavy between them. Her face was calm, yet he saw a flicker of something cross it. Regret? Pain? It vanished too quickly to be sure. She leaned closer. "You see too much, Elias. Then tell me," he demanded. "Tell me the truth." For the first time since he woke in this place, she stood. Her posture was sharp, straight, almost regal. The quiet hum of the machines around them filled the silence. She turned her back to him, walking toward the far wall where the light from the stars leaked through. She stayed there, her hands pressed together, her voice low when she finally spoke. "I was not meant to reveal this. My people forbid it, but you will not stop asking." She looked back at him, and her eyes caught the dim light glowing faintly. "I am not what you believe I am. I am not human." The air in the room seemed to grow colder. Elias's breath caught in his throat. He wanted to deny it, to laugh at the madness of her words, but deep inside he knew. He had known since the moment he saw her eyes. "What are you then?" he whispered. Her lips pressed together as if she struggled with the answer. Finally she said, "I belong to a race older than your wars, older than your Earth's memory. I was sent here to observe humanity, to learn if you are ready." "Ready for what?" His voice rose, sharp with fear and anger. Her eyes softened for a brief moment. "For survival." Elias shook his head. His heart pounded so hard that pain burned across his chest. "This is insane. You expect me to believe an alien is disguised as a nurse sitting here in a human war hospital? You do not have to believe," she replied calmly. "But denial will not protect you. Humanity is being watched. Every war, every step, every failure, it is measured. Your kind is not as free as you believe. There are judgments being made far beyond your world." Elias gripped the blanket in his fists. Her words hit him harder than any enemy strike. He had always believed humanity's wars were their own, born of pride and hatred. To hear that something larger, something hidden was behind it, that was a terror greater than the battlefield. "Why me?" he demanded. "Why stay with me?" She stepped closer, her gaze never breaking. "Because you are important, not only as a commander but as a human. You have lived through more battles than most survive. You refuse to break even when all logic says you should. That makes you valuable." Elias stared at her, his breath unsteady. He wanted to argue, but deep inside he felt the weight of her words. He had survived things no man should have. Was that why she watched him? Why she whispered secrets into his ear? "Why tell me this?" he asked quietly. Her eyes shifted again, silver sliding into green, then back to silver. "Because time is short. The council that rules the stars has almost reached its decision about your kind. Humanity is not seen as a hopeful race, Elias. You are seen as a danger. The words crushed the air from his lungs. A danger? Yes, dangerous, violent, unpredictable. The Council believes your people will destroy not only yourselves but others. They do not want to wait until it is too late. She leaned closer, her voice almost a whisper. If their judgment is final, your earth will burn. The room seemed to tilt around Elias. His vision swam, but he forced himself to stay awake, to focus. And you? He asked. Which side are you on? For the first time she looked almost human. Her eyes lowered and her voice trembled just slightly. I broke the law of my people by telling you this. I chose to warn you because I see something in humanity they do not. Something worth saving. Elias's hands shook. He could not tell if it was fear, anger, or disbelief. He stared at her, this alien in human skin, and felt a storm of emotions rise within him. He wanted to scream, to accuse her of lying, to drag her before his commanders. But at the same time, her words felt too sharp, too heavy to be a lie. The silence stretched long, broken only by the steady beeping of the monitor beside him. Finally, he whispered, "If what you say is true, then humanity is already doomed." She looked at him, and in her strange eyes he saw both sorrow and determination. "Not doomed," she said softly. "Not yet. But the time to prove yourselves is running out." Elias lay back, his mind a storm. The world outside his hospital bed was still at war. But now he understood something far worse. Humanity was not just fighting other nations or armies. Humanity was on trial before the stars, and the verdict was almost here. Elias could not escape her words. They wrapped around his mind like chains, each link heavier than the last. He had faced bullets, blades, and the roar of warships, yet nothing had ever made him feel so helpless. He wanted to believe it was all a lie, some cruel trick. But deep in his gut, he knew she was telling the truth. No nurse, no spy, no human could look at him the way she did, with eyes that held centuries of knowledge, with a voice that carried the weight of countless stars. Lyra remained at his bedside, calm as ever. She gave him water, adjusted the machines, and spoke as though she had not just revealed the most terrifying secret of his life. Elias watched her, waiting, daring her to explain more. At last she broke the silence. "You want proof," she said quietly. Elias clenched his jaw. "I want answers." She pressed her palm against the wall and the light shifted. For a moment Elias thought he was hallucinating. Symbols appeared across the surface of the wall, glowing faintly. They were not human letters, nor any language he recognized. They floated like living streams of light. "This," she said, her voice low, "is a fragment of what I have taken from the Council. Records of their discussions. Records of your fate." The symbols shifted, forming images. Elias saw Earth from above. Oceans and continents wrapped in blue. Then he saw it change. Beams of fire rained down from ships larger than mountains. Cities burned. Oceans boiled. Silence followed. The Earth was gone, a black husk drifting in the dark. Elias gasped and pushed himself up. Pain shot through his chest, but he ignored it. "Stop it." His voice cracked. "Stop showing me this." Lyra lowered her hand and the images vanished. But the memory of them seared itself into Elias's mind. "This is what the Council believes must be done," she said. "They fear your kind will grow beyond control. They think it is better to end you now before you spread further." Elias's hands trembled. "So humanity is nothing more than a problem to be erased?" She nodded slowly. "A danger to be removed." He shook his head violently. "That is not who we are. We fight, yes. We make mistakes. But we build too, we dream. We care for our own. We love." His voice broke, but he forced himself to continue. "If they think we are only destruction, they do not understand us." Her eyes softened as though his words touched something within her. "That is why I came. To see for myself. To know if you are worth saving." Elias glared at her. "Worth saving? You speak as if we are some animal to be judged. Who are they to decide our future?" Her expression grew colder again. "They are older. They are stronger. They believe that makes them right." Elias felt rage burn inside him. He had fought for survival his whole life, against enemies, against death, against the odds. And now he learned that the greatest enemy was not even one he could see. A faceless council, somewhere beyond the stars, planning the destruction of his entire race. It filled him with a fury he had never known. "They will not decide for us," he said at last, his voice sharp with defiance. "You speak with courage," Lyra whispered. "But courage alone does not change their judgment. Humanity is out of time. Her words were a hammer against his chest. Out of time. He thought of his home, his family, the soldiers who trusted him. All of them lived their lives without knowing this shadow hung over them. They fought wars on Earth while their real executioners waited in the sky. Why tell me? Elias asked, his voice hoarse. Why show me this if there is nothing we can do? For the first time, Lyra stepped closer and placed a hand on his arm. Her skin was warm, almost human, but her touch carried a strange energy, a steady hum that made his body relax even as his mind raced. Because I believe there is still hope, she said softly. You humans carry something the Council cannot understand. You endure. You fight not only for power but for meaning. You risk everything for each other, even when logic says you should fail. That is why I broke the law. That is why I chose to reveal the truth to you. Elias searched her eyes, trying to read them, trying to know if this was manipulation or sincerity. For the first time, he thought he saw a flicker of fear there, not for herself, but for him. You want me to fight them, he said quietly. I want you to prove them wrong, she corrected, but it will not be easy. If the Council learns I told you, they will kill me. And if your people discover who I truly am, they will destroy me too. I risk everything by standing here. Elias felt his anger shift into something else. Respect, perhaps, or a strange kind of trust. He had no reason to believe her, yet the weight of her words, the sharpness of her eyes, the truth in her tone, it was more convincing than anything else in his life. He leaned back, his body heavy with exhaustion. Then tell me what I must do. Lyra did not answer at once. She looked toward the window, the stars beyond, as though listening to voices only she could hear. Finally, she turned back to him, her expression grave. You must prepare yourself, she said, because soon the Council will send their judgment, and when it arrives, you will have only one chance to save your people. Elias closed his eyes, the images of Earth burning still bright in his mind. He had survived countless battles, but this was no longer about him. This was about humanity itself, and now, whether he was ready or not, he carried the weight of its fate. Elias spent the next day wrestling with the weight of everything Lyra had revealed. His body grew stronger with each hour, but his mind carried wounds that no medicine could close. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw it again. Earth burning, oceans turning to fire, billions of lives wiped away by a decision made light years away. He had fought countless battles, but never had he faced an enemy like this, an enemy that judged all of humanity as one. Lyra remained by his side, her calm presence both comforting and terrifying. He did not know if she was protector or predator. She said she risked her life to warn him, but part of him wondered if it was all another test. What if she was still obeying her counsel, only spinning lies to measure his reaction? Trust came hard for a soldier, and Elias had lived long enough to know betrayal often hid behind the gentlest face. That night, the silence broke. Heavy boots echoed outside the medical bay. Voices murmured, sharp, urgent. Elias tensed, and Lyra's strange eyes narrowed. She moved quickly, her hand brushing the controls on the wall, dimming the lights. They are coming, she whispered. Elias's heart pounded. Who? Your people, she answered. Her voice carried no fear, only steady calculation. They have discovered what I am. The door slid open and soldiers poured in. Human soldiers. Elias recognized their insignia. Men he had commanded before his injury. Their weapons were raised, aimed not at him but at her. Commander, their captain barked. Step aside. The nurse is a spy. Elias's breath caught. Spy. They thought she was working for the enemy. In a way, they were right. She was an alien living in human skin, hiding in plain sight. Every instinct screamed at him to let them take her. It was safer that way. It was his duty. But then he remembered her touch, her words, the fire in her eyes when she told him that Earth would burn. He remembered the sorrow that crossed her face when she admitted she had broken her people's laws for him. Could that sorrow have been fake, perhaps? But if she was telling the truth, she was the only chance humanity had left. The captain's voice rose again. Commander, order her restrained now. Elias looked at Lyra. She stood still, her hands at her side. She did not fight. She only watched him, her silver-green eyes searching his face as if waiting for judgment. Elias, she whispered. If you give me to them, the truth dies with me. Sweat dripped down his temple. His pulse thundered in his ears. On one side was loyalty to his men, to his oath, to the chain of command. On the other side was trust. Trust in a being who had no reason to save him, yet who had risked everything to warn him. The soldiers stepped closer. The captain barked the order again. "Now, Commander." Elias made his choice. With a sudden motion, he grabbed the edge of his bed and tipped it forward, crashing into the nearest soldier. The man stumbled back, and before anyone could react, Elias reached for the captain's weapon and shoved it aside. "Stand down," Elias roared, his voice filled with raw fury. "No one touches her!" The room froze. The soldiers stared at him in disbelief. To them, it must have looked like betrayal, defending a suspected enemy instead of his own kind. "Commander," the captain said coldly, "you have no idea what you're doing." "I know exactly what I am doing," Elias shot back. His chest burned, his body weak, but his voice held the weight of a man who had fought his whole life. "You think she is a spy? Maybe she is, but she knows something we don't. And if we silence her, we may doom ourselves before the real enemy even arrives." The soldiers shifted uneasily. Loyalty to a commander ran deep, but suspicion ran deeper. Elias could see the doubt in their eyes. He could also see their fear. Fear of her, fear of him, fear of what they did not understand. Lyra remained still, her gaze locked on Elias. She had not asked for his protection, yet now she had it. Slowly, she stepped closer, her voice steady but soft. "You have chosen, Elias. That choice will cost you." The soldiers raised their weapons again, but Elias stood between them and her. He knew there was no going back now. His trust had drawn a line, and crossing it meant betrayal in the eyes of his own people. The captain lowered his weapon slightly, though his glare was sharp enough to cut. "Very well, Commander. But remember this, you just turned your back on your own." With that, the soldiers withdrew, though Elias knew they would not stay away for long. He had bought time, nothing more. When the door shut, silence fell heavy again. Elias turned to Lyra, his chest heaving. "I hope I was not wrong about you." Her expression softened, almost human. "You are not wrong, but the hardest part is yet to come. Your people will not forgive you. Mine will hunt us both. We have little time before the council delivers its judgment. You must be ready." Elias sank back into his chair, exhausted but alive, his mind spinning with the consequences of what he had just done. He had chosen to trust her, and in that choice he had betrayed everything he once believed unshakable. Yet, deep inside, he felt a fire. For the first time, the war he had fought all his life seemed small. Now he was part of something greater, something that would decide not just battles, but the fate of all humankind. The days that followed felt unreal to Elias. He was no longer just a wounded soldier recovering in a quiet medical bay. He was now a man marked by both his own people and by forces beyond the stars. Trusting Lyra had cost him the loyalty of his men, and he knew word of his defiance would spread. Yet he could not regret his choice. If she was right, if the council truly intended to erase humanity, then loyalty to orders meant nothing compared to loyalty to survival. Lyra moved with purpose now. She was no longer pretending to be a nurse. Her voice carried authority, and her eyes seemed brighter, sharper. She spoke less like a caretaker, and more like someone preparing for battle. At night she showed him maps, fragments of data stolen from her people, and strange devices that hummed with an alien energy. "The council's fleet is gathering," she said one evening as the stars outside shifted in endless silence. "When they arrive, there will be no warning. Earth will not even know who has judged them. They will only see fire." Elias clenched his fists. "Then we must stop them before they strike." Her gaze held his. "Stopping them may be beyond us, but showing them who you are, that may change everything. They think you are nothing but destroyers. Prove them wrong." Elias paced the room, his steps uneven from the wounds still healing in his body. "Prove them wrong? How, with speeches? They will not listen." "They will listen," she said firmly, "if you force them to." The plan that followed sounded like madness. Together, they would slip past both human and alien patrols, reach a hidden relay point that connected to the council's network, and send a message across the stars. Not a message of surrender, but a message of defiance. Proof that humanity was not only violence and chaos, proof that humanity deserved to live. Every part of Elias resisted the idea. It felt impossible. Yet the fire in Lyra's eyes gave him strength. She had risked everything to bring him here. Now he had to risk everything in return. Their chance came at night. Lyra disguised him in a cloak of strange fibers that bent light around him. Together they slipped from the medical bay, avoiding the soldiers who still hunted her. Elias's heart pounded with every step. If they were caught, he would be branded traitor, executed without trial. But if they succeeded, there was a chance, just a chance, that Earth might survive. They reached the relay station at dawn. It was hidden deep within a ruined sector, a place bombed out in the last wave of fighting. The air smelled of smoke and dust, and the silence carried the weight of the dead. Inside the ruins, Lyra activated the device. Holographic symbols filled the air, glowing lines of alien code spinning around them. "This is the channel," she whispered. "Once we send the message, there is no turning back. The Council will know exactly where we are." Elias stared at the swirling light. For a moment, doubt struck him like a spear. What could one man's words mean to beings older than the stars? What chance did they have? But then he thought of Earth, of the children running through streets, of families laughing, of soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder in the mud. They deserved to live. They deserved a chance. "Open the channel," he said. Lyra nodded, and the light flared. A voice filled the air, cold and immense, like thunder rolling from another world. "Identify yourself." Elias straightened his back, his chest burning but his voice strong. "I am Commander Elias of Earth. I know who you are." "I know what you plan. You think humanity is nothing but destruction. You think we should be erased. But you are wrong." The silence that followed was crushing, but he pressed on. "Yes, we fight. Yes, we make mistakes. But we also dream. We build cities from ashes. We turn suffering into strength. We risk our lives for strangers. We love without reason. You call us dangerous, but that is because you fear what you do not understand. We are more than war. We are more than hate. We are human. And if you destroy us, you will never know the power of what you chose to end." The light flickered. Lyra's eyes widened. She whispered, "They are listening." Elias's voice rose, filled with the fire of every battle he had ever fought. "If you believe we are dangerous, then you are right. We are dangerous to those who try to chain us. We do not surrender. We do not bow. If you choose to destroy us, we will fight until the last breath. And if you choose to give us a chance, then you will see what no other race has shown you. You will see hope." For a long moment, nothing happened. The light dimmed, the silence stretched. Elias felt his strength drain, his knees almost buckling. He thought they had failed. Then the voice returned, softer this time, almost uncertain. "Your words are recorded. Your spirit is noted. Judgment will be delayed." The light vanished. The relay shut down. The ruins returned to silence. Elias gasped, his chest heaving. What did they mean? Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her silver-green eyes brighter than ever. "It means they are not ready to destroy you. Not yet. Your people have bought time. Time to prove you deserve your place among the stars." Elias sank to the ground, exhaustion washing over him. Relief, fear, and hope clashed inside his chest. He had faced death before, but never had the stakes been so high. Now he carried the weight of something greater than victory or defeat. Humanity had been given one last chance. Lyra knelt beside him. "You did what no one else could. You made them listen. The fate of your people is not sealed, but the fight is not over. You must make every human understand this is not just survival. This is your test." Elias looked into her strange eyes and saw for the first time something beyond mystery or sorrow. He saw trust. He nodded, his voice quiet but steady. "Then we will not waste it." Outside the ruins, the dawn broke over the horizon. The first light touched the battlefield, broken but not defeated. Humanity had been spared for now. And as Elias stood beside Lyra, he knew this was not the end of their struggle. It was only the beginning.